Hey everybody, welcome to SwingBadder. I'm with Aidan. Aidan is finally done with finals, so he can spend all of his time on the Texas Rangers, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I kind of give a preview of my thoughts on the Rangers last week as they ended up, I don't know if you read the article about the batter five, but the Rangers were number one last week in batter five, which means they had the worst week in baseball. Considering how bad the teams are out there, that's kind of an achievement. So congratulations. You don't get a trophy, but you certainly don't want to be on the batter five very long. It does end your entire season's hopes and dreams in the playoffs. As I was talking about with one of the teams, the A's were, I think, 1 or 2 games above 500, 2 weeks on the batter five, and they're solidly in last place. Well, you guys had 1 week and you almost made 4th place because the Angels were winning a lot. So, Aidan, you've watched the team. I want to know what your thoughts are because you're living there. And now that you're done with school, you have so much baseball to look forward to.
I don't know. I mean, so I have a Victory Plus subscription, so I get to watch all of the Rangers games, and I get a different perspective than just being able to look at their stats. However, I don't know if that subscription was worth $100 because now it's like a curse. I'm obligated to watch this team struggle to hit a baseball. I mean, if you just watch their at-bats, it's just like, you know how we say some teams and some players, there's no easy outs. You know, you talk about some players like that. The Rangers, everybody is an easy out. I mean, every single pitcher is just attacking the zone. They have the worst on-base percentage in baseball, worse than the Rockies, worse than the White Sox, which is just absolutely abysmal. The person on the team with the highest on-base percentage is Josh Smith, and it's .331. And Josh Smith wasn't even on the World Series team. So the best players on our team right now are like these just kind of random guys that are just popping out of nowhere. Now, Josh Smith has kind of cemented himself as a good player at this point, but the point still stands. Lost 6 games in a row, lost a series to the White Sox. Brett Boone is not helping this offense. Corey Seager is still injured, but he is coming back to DH today, which is good. And this team is just struggling so heavily right now. Carter is injured. I mean, the pitching is still doing well, but once again, their bullpen just can't handle this much pressure this long. You know, it happened when they played the 3rd game against the Yankees, where I think it was Jason Dominguez hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th in a tie game. You know, stuff like that's just eventually going to happen. You can't blame, Luke Jackson for, giving up that bottom of the 9th home run when he's put in that situation in 30 games this season. Like, inevitably, he's just going to fail. You'll have coaches talk all the time about how baseball is a game of failure, but it doesn't help when the team isn't really doing anything about it, because that's basically the Rangers at this point. That's my initial thoughts.
I always have thought throughout this year that they would get their offense going. But every time I look to see if they're scoring, they're not. I mean, even this week, we have, 2 games under our belts, and you have a total of, I think, 3 runs in 2 games?
Yes, we beat the White Sox 5-4, so we scored 5 runs. But the most amount of runs we've scored this month is 8 against the Rockies, and every other game has been 2, 4, 3, 5, 1, 0, 0, 3. It's just...
It's
painful
funny
to watch.
It's like you bought the wrong package on the wrong team. Like, it's better if you have a bad team that scores a lot. So at least like you're seeing a lot of offense.
There's just no hope. It's like 2 runs is like an unsurmountable mountain of runs that's just impossible for us to surpass. There's just no leads.
Yeah. So here's my question. You're the fan. When they score, when the other team scores like 2 or 3 runs early, like the first 3 innings, do you just feel like it's over?
It's over. It doesn't
just
matter.
So everybody knows, this is exactly why when me and my dad were sitting around a kitchen table about developing Batter Sports, thank you for not allowing us to go see baseball, so we created this. My father and I have one of the best endearing memories that we ever have in the Diamondback World Series, where they won against the Yankees. In Game 7, I was watching this game with them, and they hit the home run. The Yankees did, to go up, and Mariano Rivera was coming in. And both my father and I were like, this is the worst Rivera's coming in. We're down by a run. How many times have we seen the Yankees do this? This is like clockwork. Yankees win the World Series because at the time the Yankees were winning.
Yeah.
They won a lot at that time, and Rivera was unbelievable. And so we were just as hopeless as can be in the ninth inning. And then they came back and won, and we were dancing in the living room. It's your experience is exactly what most fans have. It's a complete doubt and unfaith in their team, especially if you're expected them to do something. And this year you were expecting them to be battling for the division. Wild card, I believe, is what you were thinking. And right now you're literally playing around with the Angels. You're playing footsie with the Angels. Yeah, how far are you out now of the division? And I know the Astros have been playing well, and you hate the Astros, but they continue to play well.
We're 4.5 games back.
Which isn't terrible.
Not terrible, but it's just like, I heard on the radio once, I think before the season started, somebody saying that the Rangers are expected to be one of the best teams in the American League this year, and we're barely 500, and our team's batting average is like somewhere in the low 200s.
Doesn't that give you, though, a hope? Like you really are terrible on offense, and you're really not. Your record is not reflective of that. Like your record should be a lot worse.
Our record should be a lot worse, but the pitcher is like our pitching staff is like the final straw that's holding this team and preventing it from being this absolute catastrophic failure. And it's because we basically have 3 guys that are pitching like Cy Young winners right now, mainly Eovaldi and deGrom, as you've probably heard 1,000 times. And I mean, like,
who are they pitching tonight?
I think that's a good question. Let's see.
Well, just so people know, like at the end of last week, the Astros were half a game out of the wild card. The Mariners are 29-23, and the Rangers are 26-28 at the end of the last week. So you're 2.5 back. You're 3 games out of the first wild card for playing as terrible as you have. So there's this inkling that I'm like, you can't bat this bad all year. However, every week they continue to prove that they are really committed to being bad on offense. Because your point, like our best game is 1 game against the Rockies, like 8 runs.
I mean,
like that doesn't.
But it's like about a month now. Like
that
shouldn't. Can we at least
shouldn't
have like a 10 or 12 run game at this point? Come on now.
But it's not even like 8 against the Rockies is like everyone does that.
Yeah.
Everybody does that. That's like eating a cheeseburger at McDonald's. Everyone's done that. Like you should have had 15 runs against the Rockies. You should have done something amazing. I mean, there are teams that have beaten the Rockies like by 20 in a series. So like having 8 runs and like being like, yeah, that's our best game of the year. That's really bad.
I mean, yeah, it's like you said. We think that this offense is eventually going to wake up and remember that we're supposed to be a good offensive team like we were 2 years ago, but it hasn't happened, and it continues to not progress towards being a state of happening. I mean,
there's a lot of
yeah,
a lot of contracts that you guys are on the hook for with this team, because this team is not a cheap team.
Yes, and Semien is starting to weigh us down because not only is he dragging that contract on for, I think, another 3 years, and he's eating up a lot of money, but he has continued to not produce offensively, and he's been dropped down to batting 9th now, which is unthinkable.
If you look at your team, your 2 highest players are Corey Seager and deGrom. They're in the 30s, 37 million, and then 32 for Seager, which you would hope he comes back and starts playing like himself. You guys signed Peterson for 18.5, which has not been very good. And then Marcus, he's 25 million.
Yeah.
And then the next one is Nathan is 25 million, and then Tyler is 11. So 3 pitchers are your top 5 minus, and you don't even have John Gray off of injury. Is he out for the year?
Don't know. I've barely heard anything about him, actually, which suggests that he's out for a while.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest as well. And I thought he was a good signing for them. He has an arm injury and it's to be determined, so he may be out for the year. So Yeah, I mean, when you signed um when you signed Marcus from Toronto, I keep screwing up people's names all the time. When you signed him from Toronto, I remember questioning that because his first year wasn't that good. I thought he figured it out the year of the World Series. I don't know how he did last year, but this year
Last
is
year he was
really
not good.
yeah, this has
Yeah.
been a like a swing batter contract.
It's starting to turn into one. I mean, it is very
But
possible that he kind of pulls a Javier Baez and changes something about his swing or something and fixes everything. But the veteran like he is, it's just kind of you're not a young player anymore. There's not like a lot you can do to change yourself. It's just kind of grinding through it. And if grinding doesn't work anymore, you're just getting old. That and based off of what I've seen, that just seems to be how some of these older players work. And Semien is starting to fall into that category as I think he's 32 now, which isn't insanely old, but you know, you're not in your prime anymore, if you know what I mean.
and then I think you have Corey Seager there. You have signed him for another 8 years or something crazy. So you have a lot of guys that infield is signed for a while. I mean, I don't know what you do with Simeon. I just don't know. He's just not hitting, and he's not even. I mean, you may have problems with Jock Peterson, but it's a 1 year deal, so it's like you tried something, you can always drop him.
Yeah,
I mean Garcia. I mean, you got
his
players. It's
Garcia will continue to be a Gold Glove defender in right field and have that cannon of an arm, but his offense is highly inconsistent.
okay. So John Gray has a right wrist fracture. That happened in spring training, so he's on a 60 day. So he's gonna have to. And you see, what is he, a righty or a lefty? Looks to be a righty. Oh, that's a brutal injury. And of course, this should have been. This is exactly what happened. The Rockies scared you into hitting. It happened against the Rockies in spring training. It was 106 miles an hour off the bat, and it come back and it broke his wrist. And ever since then, all the Texas Rangers were terrified of hitting the ball now because they don't want to hurt a pitcher. You know, like in
It's
Little
all the
League, when
Rockies'
something
fault.
happens to a player, everybody's like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. That looks terrible." So like that would happen in spring training. Everyone's like, "That's a terrible injury. We can't hit the ball hard. We got to protect these players." Like all you want to do is hurt people with the baseball at this point. Just hit the ball at the pitcher or do something.
It's kind of
What's
like
nutty to me? Sorry.
it's kind of like the opposite with Garcia last year. I think spring training, he was hitting home runs left and right, left, right, and center, and then the year came around and he batted like 200 with striking out twice a game. So the Rangers in spring training do not go well together, it appears.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like the teams that have scored the least amount of runs, the Pirates are on that list. Although they seem to like playing the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are struggling as well. The Rockies are also really low, and then the Kansas City Royals. The Chicago White Sox are tied. We're tied with the Rangers. I think after this week, I think a lot of teams are going to beat the Rangers, depending on if they need an onslaught here. I mean, I thought that game last night was 2-0. It was 0-0. Wasn't it 0-0 in the eighth?
0-0, I watched. It was the top of the ninth. It was like they caught a break. It was like a bloop single by Young right over the shortstop, and then
Caught a
Langford
break.
stole third. Langford stole third. The catcher missed the throw, and so he got up and scored. Those were our 2 runs.
Really? What? Put it in the bleachers. So if you're in the outfield for a Texas Ranger game, you're not getting the souvenir. That's what you're saying, unless you show up for batting practice. Although I
Yes.
would argue, I think you should show up for batting practice to see if anyone does put it over the fence, because then you can have proof that they can't hit the ball. But this is, yeah, that's what you just described is terrible. Like the 2 runs are like, hey, we can win when the other team scores nothing. Let's do that.
Which is
Let's put more weight on our pitching staff. Because
because that was
the first game you lost 2-1. So it's not like you got run out of the building in the first game.
yeah.
So this series has a total of like 5 runs between 2 teams. And the
Which
Rangers, that's how we have to play to win. And every other team's like, hey, don't you know you can score like 10 or 12 runs against some of these bad teams? And the Rangers are like, whoa, that's disrespectful. We do not feel like that is a way to beat teams. It's pretty funny.
I related to this. I think I heard a stat another stat on the radio that if the Rangers they've lost 11 games this season in which the opposing team has scored 2 runs off of their starter. So that
That
means
is
that there's
crazy. That
yeah,
is
that's yeah.
crazy. What's also crazy is Evaldi. I think he's 4-3 now with like a 1.6
Yes.
ERA.
It's
That's-
it's like
it's and then I don't know if you heard Todd commented. He just said the Rangers have decided to take on the deGrom mantra, where we just don't score. We'll lose 2-1 all day long. Our offense isn't interested. We're just going to rely on great pitching, and deGrom will go 10-9 and have like Evaldi's going to go 10-9 and have an ERA of a 1.9.
yes.
Win the Cy Young and only have 10 wins. Then everyone's going to say, did he play for the A's? Did he play for the White Sox? No, he played for the Rangers.
Did this team win a World Series 2 years ago?
Yeah, that's rear mirror. Well, I will say, I continue to believe that offense is going to come around. But again, there does get to a point that, in our talks with our family is like, they are what they are.
Yeah.
They're not going to suddenly get out of this. But I also laugh because, your grandfather, my father, has watched a ton of baseball. And when a team gets out of a slump like this, that's usually everybody. But I don't remember a time where this is like nobody for such a long time.
Yeah. And so far, it's really just been, I said we won yesterday because we caught a break. And it's like, that's kind of true. The only time we ever score runs is when we catch a break or when one individual player steps up and carries the offense. There's never been a point in the season in which it feels like the entire team has broken out offensively, which you could frankly point to at any other team right now, even a team like the White Sox or even the Rockies. They've probably had a game in which their entire offense, everybody gets a hit, everybody gets on base 1 or 2 times. Rangers haven't had anything like that. All of their wins are off of like a solo home run randomly in the 6th inning or a bloop single at the right time and the right fielder, misplays the ball. It's always something like that gets them the sneak win. And then the other 2 out of 3 games in the series, they'll just lose. And it looks like they're playing as a AA team against a major league team.
What's nutty to me is that they are in the top half of the league in home runs. They've hit 57, which is 14th in the league. They are 3rd from the bottom with RBIs. They have 180. So to your point, when you say solo home runs, they live on solo home runs.
Yes. It's almost
like there's nobody. Yeah, there's nobody with. I mean, they're 57. Just to do a reference, right? They have 57. They have 180 RBIs. The Orioles are the next closest with 58 home runs. I'm sorry, 60 home runs with 197 RBIs. That's 17 more. And then the next worst that's in this category of home runs, it's 211. It's 207. So these are like 30 more RBIs. As a team, when you hit 57 home runs, you expect to have, I can't imagine how many. I wonder how many solo home runs the Rangers have. It's half or more. That would be an interesting stat. That's just like, that's depressing. Because that's the worst when you hit a home run and it's always solo shots. So it's like, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I don't know what our average this year with runners in scoring position is, but I think it's somewhere around 200. We're basically batting around the Mendoza line with runners in scoring position.
Well, that would make sense. I would also think, like, if I expand out they have all these graphs, right? I was like, well, how did they do on grounding into double plays? Like, did they get a lot of those? And then I'm like, well, they don't get a lot of hits, so they're at third from. They have
There's
the
nobody
third
ever
least
on
double
first.
plays. This is correct. So they're half as much as the most double plays. So it's like it goes back to like their average is so bad. That's the other thing is their average is so bad when they do hit into those double plays, it probably feels like you're in the Grand Canyon again. Like we
Yes, it
have
does.
finally got a guy on base and then you got him out and then we got 2 outs. And then the next guy probably hits a solo home run and then you're like, just murder me. Just bunt. Maybe you guys should just go to bunting.
Like we're at this point, the team is also thriving off of the like pinch hit clutch moment. Because one thing that I would like to point out is that when we played y'all, the Diamondbacks, in the World Series, I think all we did was just, all right, go up to the plate and swing the bat and try and hit a home run or a double. And it worked. We scored a lot of runs in that postseason. And I think when we played y'all in the World Series, Y'all had a lot more attempted contact hitting. Y'all had a lot more bunts. Y'all were a lot more strategic at the plate. This year, we're so bad at hitting naturally. We are starting to have to be strategic on the bases. I watched the game last night. I forget who Higashioka hit like a little bloop single between the third baseman and the shortstop. They put in a pinch runner. He steals second on the next pitch. And then Josh Young hits that little bloop single. And then Wyatt Langford, I think, gets a walk. So there's runners on first and second. And then, Young steals third. And then the misplayed ball, he goes home.
So you manufactured 2 runs out of nothing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So, again, you got the formula. 0 runs to the other team. You score 1 or 2. You guys are in the playoffs. You just need to do that 90 times, and you'll be just fine.
Come at the cost of the blood pressure of everyone living in Dallas.
Well, the good news about Dallas is you're going to be the only team playing once the Stars take their Western Conference Finals exit like they normally do.
It's very unfortunate.
The good news is now you're in the summer. You get to watch the team. We're going to see your writings more. We're going to see your opinions more on battersports.com. That's going to be exciting. It's BADDER. Check that out. Don't forget to subscribe and like and comment. If you want to give Aidan some hope about some teams in the past that have hit this poorly, that have turned it around. He's a young man. He does need some hope still, but baseball does teach you a lot about hope and dreams and all that. But 2 out of 10 is really bad as a team. As a team, that's really bad. These RBIs and runs are pretty bad. The good news is very low double plays, but you're not on base a lot. So, again, if you wanted to say, how do companies look at data? Well, it depends on how you want to look at it. Because if I was making a PowerPoint for the GM of the Texas Rangers, I'd be like, well, we almost lead the league in the least amount of double plays. We're doing really good there.
Our defense in right field is excellent.
Look at the ERA. Look at the team's whip. Look at runs allowed. Just focus on the things that are positive. You can just craft that message. You can go to lunch feeling as high as a kite. Be like, man, we're doing really, really good. And then he'll hang out with you at the table. And you'll be like, this is the worst team I've ever watched. You'll be like, that's not the PowerPoint I got. The data I got says everything's great. We're going to turn this thing around. All right. Well, you enjoyed the game tonight, and we'll be in touch. Obviously, every week we'll give you guys the weekly updates for the Texas Rangers. And obviously, we have a regular weekly roundup. Hopefully, they don't end up in the batter 5 this week. Starting the week off 1-1 is pretty good. I always say that if you have 2 wins, you typically don't make it, because there's 5 teams that will only get 1 or less every week. As always, I'm your host, Brendan, and that's Aidan, our Texas Ranger Insider. Congrats to you on your new summer career. We look forward to it. Thanks, everybody.